start the meeting. Okay. So today's topic is going to be about thickness and influence, trying to separate the difference between the two. Because in the Western community, it's not really a huge topic. Usually we mix them up between thickness and influence. Um, so thickness is a strong group of stones that are well connected and maybe good eye shape. And the things like cuts and peeps in thickness are not necessarily weak. There's a good saying: if you try to peep or cut a thick group or any influence, and they're able to counterattack, then that weakness isn't really a weakness, right? And the difference between thickness and influence is that influence usually has those weaknesses where those pokes and cuts are a big deal. So if they are a big deal, then it's more like influence. Uh, all thickness is influence, but not all influence is thickness, if that makes sense. Because thickness can act as influence, but without those weaknesses. While influence, if it has pokes or holes in the shape that can be used, then it's not thickness and it's going to be harder to manage the influence. So thickness has a lot of good perks, like attacking, uh, playing away from it. You know it's going to be strong. While influence the opponent can use to save their group or to play like a Sabaki way. So another thing about influence is that when people usually refer to it, they refer to like stones facing the center of the board and looking for an impact in a certain area. Uh, and there can be a mixture of both. For example, in this example, I would say this is both influence and thickness. Why do I say that? Because for the thickness part, tigers' mouths are very strong and thick. Okay, so we have two tigers' mouths here. But this has the attribute of a weakness with this poke here. Now, it's not a major poke, and the opponent can play here, right? Now, if the opponent can counterattack, then this would be a super thick group. For example, this seems very strong, so black can't really counterattack because he would have to fix, and then white has a lot of severe moves that he can do. So black can't ignore, so he has to respond, right? So this is a mixture of a thick group and a influence group. Now, what about now? Is this group a strong thick group or is it influence? I would say now I think it's thickness now because there's no clear cuts anymore. This is very strong. Let me use a different color here. So this here is a thick group, but we still have a cut at O2. The question that we have to ask ourselves is this cut important? No, it's not because white can cut through and black can sacrifice in order to get more thickness. So black is able to counterattack by just giving it up. So if black can do that, then this is a thick group. So here it's a mixture of both because white has this one poke, but for the most part, this is a thick group. Any questions about that?
Hello.
Hello. Hey Leo.
Sorry I'm a bit late. Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. If you want to go back on the very top, there's
Yes.
some things I went over. So
Okay,
you can read those while I speak for the next thing.
for sure, for sure.
It's mostly trying to decipher what is thickness and what is influence. I'll talk more about it in the next examples too.
All right.
Um, let's go to this one. So this group here, let's evaluate if this is a thick or if this is a influence, right? If it's influence, then there's going to be weakness. If it's thickness, then there's not going to be weakness. Now, clearly there's some weakness here, but is it actually weakness? If you can counterattack, it's not a weakness. For example, if white plays this, I would argue that black can just play away. Even though white does get a stone here, it's not really impacting black too much. Or he can even get more thick by playing this. So it looks like this is not a weakness. Now, what about O15? White can try this, but if black can counterattack, then this is a thick group and it's not a weakness. Black can simply play here, and it's not worth white to run out because white will get attacked, and black can use his thickness correctly. So I would argue that this group here is thick. The only weakness that you could ask is this one, but this is not even weakness because black can counterattack. Okay, so let's look at a another example. Now, Chochukun, he loves it when the opponent plays thin and plays with influence. He really hates it when they play with thickness because thickness has less resources and less Aji to work with. Now, so influence has weakness, thickness does not. So if we look at this example here, this clearly has some defects with the knight's move and the two space, right? So I would argue that this is influence, not thickness. And the stones on the left side, you know, black wants to attack these stones, right? And I see this in a lot of games where someone's trying to attack the opponent by playing thin and influence type of moves. But that is not thick. Thickness allows you to attack, thinness does not. Don't get me wrong, this move isn't that bad, right? Because it looks to do a whole board. Uh, tries to link this stone and tries to make this influence. It's influence, not thickness. And but it does not attack the opponent super severely. For example, the opponent could play any mixture of moves. A, B, C, D, E. There's many moves here that the opponent can do. He can use any of the weakness to try to make two eyes. I personally would probably play I. I think I is a really good chance to make something. Um, it's unclear what to do. For example, white could cut, you know. So this and then cut. There's many options here. But I hope you understand that thickness and influence is different. This is clearly influence, not thickness. Now, you might question, okay, how about we make it thickness by playing another move here, or here, or perhaps here? It's just too slow, right? You can't force influence to be thickness, okay? When you're making the influence, if you want it to be thick, then you should play thickly, or whatever the word is. You should play thick. So you can't convert influence to thickness so easily because usually it's too slow, right? So treat it what it is. It's influence. The opponent will probably escape. Just treat it as such. Any questions about
But
that so far? Yeah.
yeah, I had a question about the opponent escaping. When you play influence, you actually kind of want the opponent to escape, right? So by escaping, he creates weaknesses and he creates also opportunities for you to now transform influence into
Yeah.
territory,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Exactly. Um,
okay.
yeah. So if Black's goal was to get influence, this is correct. If Black's goal is to attack this group, that's incorrect, right? So if he tries to go for your route, that'd be right.
Okay.
All right, let's look at the next example here. Okay, let's evaluate. I'll have you guys evaluate this. Just remember the weakness, and that kind of determines if this is thickness or influence. Okay, so I'll have you guys evaluate and then put in chat what you think it is, and then you kind of have to like make a justification. Okay, we got 1 vote for influence. Another influence. Feels like influence, but actually thickness. Okay, I think it's thick. Cool, cool. Okay, I would argue that this is influence. Now, I'll show you why. Hello. Yeah, right now we're talking about influence and thickness and trying to separate the two. Influence is with weakness, while thickness is without weakness. Yeah. So the critical move here, even if it was influence or thickness, is to pincer. So for example here. Now, even if it's influence, you should still pincer and attack, right? But you shouldn't expect to kill them because influence doesn't allow you to simply kill. For example, the opponent can peep at the weakness. This is one weakness, right? And we have to ask ourselves, can black counterattack? So let's say black counterattacks by playing this. White can simply cut and save his group. So this is not an appropriate counterattack. Okay, so this one isn't a counterattack, meaning that this is a weakness because black has to respond. Now, let's say white pokes here. Okay, can black counterattack? Let's say he plays this one. The answer is no, because he still has to respond and he probably just dies. So this is also not a counterattack. So black has to respond, and then white's able to play this. And now he's fully out. And he looks like he's going to develop at least an eye. So because of this, it's fairly weak. For example, if black plays here, then white can jump out. Suddenly, this AK thickness is not thickness. It's a weak group, right? Suddenly, it's a weak group. It's very shocking. So, yeah. And if black does protect this weakness, let's say he plays a knight's move here, then white can counterattack. Okay? So this is weakness because he has issues. He has a poke, he has two pokes, and then potentially another poke. Okay? And black can't ignore. If black could ignore and do an enable to counterattack, then it wouldn't be a weakness. But because it is Sente and white can use it, it is weak. So that is influence. Let's look at another example. Does anybody have any question on this example before I go on? Yeah, exactly. And it's very important if you want to kill someone. If you want to make a Moyo, it's not that. I mean, it's still important because they can poke through in Sente. Yeah. If it's thick, then good luck living. Does anybody have any questions on this so far?
Clear as water.
Good, good, good. Perfect. All right. Let's look at this example. Now, this kind of goes back into one of the concepts I showed in middle game. It's the idea of M plus one. I really like this idea of M plus one. Where would you play on the left side? If you wanted to play off of your thickness, because this is thickness, right? Because remember, if black plays here, white can simply ignore and counterattack. And if black does decide to cut through, you can even sacrifice. Or maybe he's just dead, right? Maybe he's just dead, but you can counterattack by doing this. So this is not influence, it's thickness. Because the only potential weakness you can counterattack. Right? So if it's white to move, where would you play on the left side in order to use your thickness? There's many options, by the way. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
thinking.
cool. Yeah, sorry, my internet's a little bit buggy, so I was just making sure.
Personally, I never know how I did not understand the lessons when they were
Yeah.
talking about one space further than what the opponent would play. So I'm waiting for people to answer because I guess I'm gonna learn it today because
Cool.
I like star points, but I don't think it's the right answer.
So we got an answer for A.
I'll say star points. D10. Yeah, I'll take the third option.
You're gonna take C. All right. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, I'll give that. I'll take C.
Fair. Okay.
Fourth line is fun.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go back or C6. Okay. Sure. C6 is also a good option. Um. Let me go back to the most foundation shape. Right. You probably learned it from the other one, where the n+1 is pretty much how far you should play off a stone. So if I were to play off this stone, I would do the wall. So the wall here is 1, right? And then how far you should play is the wall plus 1. So how far is wall plus 1? So here, this should be 2 because we can do 1 plus 1. So how far should be 2? So we have 1, 2. So we play this one. Similar to before, where if we had a 2 wall, we play 3. We play 3. So 1, 2, 3. We simply play here. And we keep doing that the more we have for the wall. Okay? So we can
Yep.
use that in any situation, right? So let me go back to the example. In this example here, let's make our wall. I'll argue that our wall is going to start right here. Okay? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it should be wall plus 1. So 6 plus 1, 7. So it should be at least 7. Okay? So if we count that, 1, I'll do over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
But
So
a question, real quick: you
yeah,
count from the one that's the furthest away? Because now you have, let's say,
it's
you have
based on
stones on the
judgment.
17, you have stones on 15, and on 16. You count the 7 space
Yeah.
from which one of those 3 lines?
So it's based on judgment. Here
Okay.
we have a strong stone that's supporting on this line. If this wasn't here, then I would probably take the 16th line. But because this is here, it makes it very strong. If I didn't, then I would probably use this line. If
All
that
right.
makes sense. It's based on judgment.
So you could say that you base the space from the strongest part of the wall?
Yep, exactly. So if I had like one
Okay.
stone sticking out, I wouldn't use that as the baseline because it's kind of
'Cause
like
it's weak.
yeah, exactly. But because I have these 3 stones which are fairly strong, these stones over here aren't really supporting the wall, while our C15 stone is supporting it more.
Makes sense.
So we should have a stone somewhere around what did I say, like here? Around over here. So we should have a stone around there. I personally would play here just because I want to have my corner be more enclosed, right? So you can make adjustments, but it should be around, this area, if that makes sense. That's why playing over here is a bit too small. And also remember, the point of thickness is to invite them to invade. So, for example, if you play here, you want them to come in. Then you can attack them and use their thickness properly. For example, if they play this, we can push them towards our thickness, and we're very happy because we can start attacking them instantly.
I see, sounds good.
Yeah. So there's a concept that we'll learn later. It's the idea of thickness is fire. I've been watching a lot of my childhood cartoon, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, hell
That's a
yeah.
good show.
Go to
Yeah.
show. Yeah, great.
So I'm on the third one, which is like the fire arc.
Best
So
arc.
it reminds me of this. So if you get too
Nice.
close to the thickness, thickness is fire, so you don't want to catch yourself on fire. So I would say that these two stones here, they're under fire. They're going to get burnt pretty badly, and we're pretty thick on top, so we're super strong. So we don't have to worry too much about our thickness. Now, if it wasn't thickness and we didn't have the C15 stone, then we get a little bit scared because we do have weakness in that case. Because then they can poke at C15, and then suddenly we'll have a weak group. Okay, so we want to play pretty far. So let's look at the next example here. So talking about the fire idea, what should black do here? How does black properly save this stone?
Two space extension. Alright, it's too weak, huh?
I'm going to be right back in 1 minute. I'll have you guys think. How should black save the stone? Being that this is a huge thickness. Okay, I am back. All right, so we have Q9, and then we have 3 space. So Q9. So 2 for Q9. Okay, interesting. And then Q8. Okay, so in the game, the Q player played this one. Now, you can think of this move as, so think of the wall as like a lava pit, right? And this stone here is right next to the lava pit falling in. Now, this stone here is trying to grab his friend using his hand, right? And the R8 stone might get dragged in, right? His friend might pull him into the lava pit. Now, you need to be much safer so you don't fall in with him. And what I mean by that is white will attack here. Now, even if these stones don't die, white is able to push black this way, use his thickness, and gain this area. Okay? So we want to be farther. We don't want to. We can't save our friend, right? Our friend is kind of a goner. He's already in the fire, and if we try to pull him out, we might burn ourselves. So we should actually play as far as here. Sure, our friend's able to. We're able to escape, but our friend's going to die, right? But we understand that. The idea is to let our friend die and to save ourselves, right? Now, if you play this one here, this is also a bit close because they can play this. And maybe in the future, if black, let's say, jumps, maybe we have moves like this, right? Does everyone understand?
Yeah.
Cool. So we don't want to save our friend directly, but we kind of want to we want to pull down a rope. So this one gives a rope to our friend. You know, the opponent can cut off the rope, but at least we tried. At least we try to save him. But we shouldn't go heads
Uh,
first into the lava. Okay. So let's move on to the next part.
And
Yeah.
can we just a question as white? Because personally, in the way I play, I
Hmm.
often end up in this exact situation as white.
Mm,
Let's say the opponent tries to save the stone with his hands and basically do something really small and bad like this. What should I do? Yeah, I just pincer and go up and then create another moyo, but then what happens to my stick of stones right there?
yeah. So now this is where you
Uh,
have. So this thickness is now turning into influence.
okay.
So if we get in this situation, you might want to respond now, right? And let's say we
Yeah.
play this. This is a chance we can do it now, or we can be a little bit ballsy and play this one.
Yeah, at what point is it too late? Like I would
So
still jump up, but
if
after that
you're
I have to do something, right?
now, this is where being a good player matters because this is where I mess up. Knowing when
Damn.
to, yeah, knowing so like knowing this topic is my level. Knowing these small topics, but knowing when to stop is the hard part. And I would say
Okay,
that determines your skill level.
I see.
I guess the question is how much weakness does the opponent have, and can they severely attack you? For example, what would Black do here? Would he poke? Would he cut? Would he jump? That's the question you should be asking. And this
Yeah,
is
I
how you
think
make
that
that's how you make the judgment.
elf yeah, like L5 would be pretty good, I think, for black.
Okay,
But
and let's
okay,
say
after
let's
L5,
say yeah.
I mean
Uh
L5,
oh, L5. Okay.
yeah,
Now, if we're ballsy, would play this one. I would probably play this one.
okay,
You could also
yeah, I
poke
see.
here and then play here. So if they push in, this cut isn't allowed.
Nice. Okay, I see.
So I would try to counter, right? So
Okay,
countering, and then you're going to get into a big fight. If the opponent jumps, then we can poke at him. And do know
yeah,
we can poke at him to like in order to help ourselves a little bit, and then we can play
yeah.
like this.
All
Now
right.
we have a stick here. Here they have a stick, but our stick is more valuable because our
Yeah,
stick is
okay,
looking to grow this.
makes sense.
Okay, so
All right,
let's
thank you.
yeah, no problem, no problem. Let's look at the next example. This is Z's example. So Z here um, was talking about using our thickness here. Now this is an obvious thickness, but this is thickness. Okay. It's not influence. Well, I mean, it technically is influence, right? Because all influence is thickness, but it's not obvious. Now, now to use this thickness, we would play A. Okay, and then if they back off, we want to go big or go home. So there's for those who are not American, there's a concept called go big or go home. And I searched up to make sure it was American, and I guess it is. It means to commit fully to something to maximize in order to maximize effort, boldness, and ambition. And if you don't do that, then anything less is not worthwhile. So here, the move would be jumping once in order to use the thickness. Okay? Now, let's say the opponent plays a pincer. A lot of us might just go into the 3-3, but we actually should jump.
Yeah,
We should play, go big. Okay? If we play on this side, this is a bit too small because then white will play this, trying to neutralize this thickness, right? So we want to use our thickness to some degree. Now, this here would be a very bad move because we can use the n+1 concept. We have a wall here. Oh, we have a wall here, and we're only going 2 spaces. So this is a very bad move. This is not even in the question. So it has to be it has to be doing something about f3. Jumping makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
Any questions on this small concept?
I'm good.
Cool, cool.
But I'm not alone, so I don't know about the
True,
others.
true. True. It's a very simple topic, like this example.
So fun.
Okay, this is where I saw a question like a few months ago. Um, or yeah, it was a few months ago. Z said after this exchange, this is too narrow. Now, what does he mean by that?
Too many stones for the space, basically.
Yeah, so if we count the walls, we'll say here is a wall, here is a wall, right?
Yeah.
If we count that, we have 6 on the left and 6 on the right. Now, that means that we need to have at least 7 spaces from this and 7 spaces from this, right? But if we count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, perfect. But we're missing the fact that we have another wall on the right side. So, and then this is also 7 this way, right? So it looks like it's perfect, but it's not, because when you have 2 walls, you actually have to double that. So we're short by 7 points,
Mm.
if that makes sense. So if you have 2 walls on the left and the right, even though there might be a space that correctly estimates for one of the walls, you have to do it for the other one. So instead, this should be a 12 space or a 7 space, plus 7. So this should be 14. So this is double, like this is like half of what it should be. Now, if we go back to this and then black 3 threes, let's say he does this. And then black 3 threes here. And let's say he does, I don't know, maybe he does this. And then black plays over here. Now, this wall here and this wall here, there's definitely more. Like if we count it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this 6 spaces needs to be over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 spaces has to be over here. So it should be roughly 13. So if we count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Not quite, but close enough, right? So this would be fine. Now, this is kind of dangerous because once white plays this, suddenly this is becoming very huge. It's kind of connecting the whole milieu together.
Yeah.
And I don't like this for black.
But at the same time, white really like is telling black,
That is
if I
true.
manage to do this, I win. But this is like basically the win condition for white, right? So if white does not manage to transform this at some point, it's game
Yeah,
over.
true. True, true. Black does have small territories everywhere though. So that's pretty important too. Um all right. Let's see. So yeah, after this we have to use the n+1, right? And even though one wall gets the 7 spaces, if we use the other wall, you can't share the spaces together. Okay? They need to
Yeah.
both have 7 spaces. Now, let's look at this example. Going back to the thickness is fire, let's say black is looking to play around this wall, right? So this is thickness. You could argue that maybe like black has some pokes here, because then the ladder doesn't work. But maybe white sacrifices the 3 stones. So it's hard to argue for either. So if we assume that this is thickness, has no weakness at all, where should we play on the right side? There's a lot of moves here. And a lot of times it's feeling based. So you don't want to be too close to the fire. Um, so it's feeling based. I haven't developed a rule. Maybe you could use n+1 here. So maybe that could be the rule here, n+1. It maybe is a good guideline, right? So if we add like this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe we play 6 spaces away. So if we played 6 spaces away, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe we'll play over here. This looks pretty normal. Yeah, Q6. Q6, Q7. I would allow Q7 as well. Um, so we could use N+1 here. A move. Yeah. So R8 feels a little bit too close because you do have to realize if you play R8, you have to know what to do after the pincer. Are you going to play this? I mean, it seems kind of small. You're against the wall. If you play this, if you play this one, this one, this one, you're kind of going against his wall. So P8. The thing with P8 though is that you're not gaining anything, and white can simply do this. Okay. So these two stones here are a weak group, while white's group here is not weak because they're attacking this stone. Okay. So you don't want stones nearby a thickness because you have a weak group. So we want to reserve ourselves and play this one or this one. Because if this happens, then we can counterattack by playing this. Okay? So I think R7 is fine because we do have this knight's move. If we played this and they played here and we try to go for the knight's move, well, they can clearly get out. Okay? So you have to be ready with pincers. That's how you use thickness. Is you pincer the opponent. The opponent might try to make a base, but the base is too close to the opponent's thickness. So we can use N+1 if we want a guideline, in which it would give us this one. This is actually what I would play. So N+1 here would actually be what I would play. Because this looks to help my stone, looks to help the right side. Looks pretty nice.
Feels good, yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does feel good. Okay, I think that was the last example I had. There's a lot of concepts. One at the Q line. That works too. I'm just more of a territorial person. So you could play the Q line. The reason why I don't like the Q line, because after something like this is an easy approach. Like, not now, but like later on when the position's filled, this is a super easy approach. And I would be happy for white because now black has to like do this, and I got that move in for free. So
I feel like this is the kind of things we see on Fox a lot.
yeah, exactly. Because they're looking to do some type of invasion. So yeah, just the recap. I mean, there's a lot of things in this. Yeah, yeah. This approach is annoying, so that's why I don't like it. There's a lot of recap here. Thickness and influence are different. Thickness is without the weakness, while influence is with the weakness. All thickness is influence, but not all influence is thickness. Now, if the opponent can counter, I mean, if the opponent can use the weakness but get counterattacked, then it's not influence, it's thickness, right? So in this example here, this position is thick, so because we can counterattack. While this position here can get counterattack, so it's influence. Or once we peep, let's say just a random peep, right? There's weakness here, so it's not completely thick. Here, there's weakness that we can use, such as the pokes. Or the knight's move here. So this is also influence, not thickness, because the pokes work. And black does not have the ability to counter. He can't counter this way because white can cut. Now, N+1 is a very important concept when it comes to thickness. So in this in this position, we want to play all the way over here. We're not satisfied with playing a move on the start point because it's too close. and we want the opponent to invade. The opponent invading allows us to attack, and we can get profit elsewhere. Maybe in a future study session, I'll talk about the transfer of power. It's kind of like the transfer of energy, where we have mechanical energy converts into electrical energy, which converts to heat. The the potential never disappears, right? If it disappears, it's your fault. Um, so you shouldn't blame the it disappearing, because the right way is to try to make the potential large. And if it disappears, then you did something wrong, and then you improve and you get better. So in this position here, let me go back to this one. When white goes here, we shouldn't be satisfied by playing this. We should try to jump up and try to use more potential. Okay? Go big or go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Because at the end of the day, the moyo is going to be reduced by half at least, right? So we need to aim for big stuff, no?
yeah. And if they do come in, right, we're transferring the territory in the bottom, and we're going to transfer that into attacking power. So, for example, we can attack here. And if they play here, we can attack this. And you see this potential that white has over here, it's going to disappear because we're going to go up
Yeah.
using the attacking potential. So we convert territory to attacking, which converts to reducing this area. It's a complicated topic, but you get more in the long run.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite topics anyway. I'll send a video
It's a
by
fun way
my
to play.
I'll send a video by my teacher called the concept of power. It's one of my favorite videos, and it really inspired me to think differently.
Yeah.
So the last thing to talk about is thickness is like fire. We don't want to get too close to the thickness or else we will get burnt. This example, let me get to this example here. This example here. We don't want to save our friend because he's a goner. So we want to throw a rope to him by playing a little bit farther. Right? We're kind of selfish here. We don't want to save our friend because we know we will get swallowed up. But we're not total dicks either. So we'll try to throw a rope to him. So yeah, later concepts we're going to talk about Moyo in its own lecture. So this is just an introduction to these topics. Because I mean, you can learn these topics forever. They're very fascinating. If you're interested in a player, then I think it's Yuta Ishida. His style is known to be thick, so he's a good guy to look at if you want to look at thickness.
And you write, yeah, there you go. All right, Yuta Ishida.
Yeah, I might have misspelled his name. I'll send in Discord if I figure it out. But it's something like this. He has a very thick style. It's borderline slow, but he somehow gets to work. Yeah, I think that'll be it.
Right.
I had fun with this topic. It's very fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I'll see you guys next week.
Yes, sir.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.